Welcome to the deep dive. We use them every day, but how often do we really think about the things that help us see?
Well, today, we're going to do just that.
We're diving deep into the world of optical lens edgers.
Those are the machines that shape the lenses for our glasses, our microscopes, cameras, you name it.
Exactly. And we're going to unpack some fascinating insights from a brand new report that just came out.
Fresh off the press, it's the Global Optical Lens Edger Market Report 2025.
This thing is jam-packed with all sorts of data, market sizes, growth rates, trends, you name it, it's in there.
Our mission today is to sift through all of that and pull out the juiciest bits.
We want to give you a clear picture of what's happening in this industry, where it's headed, and why it even matters.
And trust me, there's a lot more going on here than meets the eye.
And just to kick things off, here's a number to get us thinking. The report estimates that the global market for these machines, optical lens edgers, is going to be worth a cool $628.32 million USD this year in 2025.
That's a pretty significant chunk of change. But hold on to your hats, because by 2033, that number is projected to skyrocket to almost $1 billion.
986.42 million USD to be exact.
That's a CAGR, which stands for Compound Annual Growth Rate, of 5.80%.
So we're talking about some pretty serious and sustained growth here.
And that's a really important point. This isn't just a blip. It's a clear indication that this market is on a solid upward trajectory.
All right, so we've got this huge global market. But, the world's a big place. Where's all this action happening?
Well, let's start by looking at who's leading the pack. Right now, North America takes the crown. They've got over 40% of the global market share.
That's a big slice of the pie. In 2025, their market size is estimated to be $232.48 million USD.
And their projected CAGR is a respectable 4.3%. So steady growth, but nothing too crazy.
Right. By 2033, their market's expected to reach $325.5 million USD. But, within North America, there's one country that really stands out.
The U.S., of course. They're like the powerhouse of the North American market. In 2025, their market is predicted to be around $183.43 million USD, growing at about 4.1% annually.
And then we've got Canada coming in at 27.9 million USD with a slightly faster growth rate of 5.1%.
Mexico is also in the mix at 21.16 million, growing at a healthy 4.8%.
So yeah, North America's got a strong hold on things, but their growth is a bit more, relaxed compared to some other regions.
Right. Now let's hop across the pond to Europe. They're currently holding over 30% of the global market share.
So a strong second place. In 2025, they're sitting pretty at 182.21 million USD.
And their CAGR is projected to be 4.9%, which will take them to about 266.3 million USD by 2033.
So, not too shabby at all.
And what's interesting about Europe is the variation within the region.
Yeah, it's like a patchwork of different growth rates. The UK, for example, is a major player at 30.61 million USD with a CAGR of 5.7%.
Germany's right up there with them at 36.08 million and 5.1% growth.
And then you've got France at 16.76 million, Italy at 15.67, and Spain at 14.94, all showing steady but slightly slower growth, hovering around the 4% mark.
Russia's another one to watch. They're at 28.24 million with a 3.9% CAGR.
And even some of the smaller European economies like Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland, and even Luxembourg are showing some interesting movement.
Yeah, Luxembourg's got a CAGR of 5.2%, which is pretty impressive for such a small country.
So the European market's definitely a bit of a mixed bag, but overall there's definite growth happening.
Now get ready for this, because we're about to head to the region where things are really heating up.
The Asia-Pacific region, or APAC as it's often called, is the real star of the show when it comes to growth. They're currently holding around 23% of the global market share.
Not bad for a starting point. In 2025, their market size is estimated at 150.80 million USD.
But here's the kicker. Their CAGR is a jaw-dropping 8.5%. By 2033, they're expected to reach 289.5 million USD.
That's some serious momentum.
And there are a few key players driving this incredible growth within APAC. China, as you might expect, is a major force, with a 2025 market size of 63.33 million USD and a CAGR of 8%.
Japan and South Korea are also making waves. Japan's at 20.81 million with 7% growth, and South Korea's at 18 million, growing at 7.6%.
And India is really taking off, with a projected CAGR of 10.4%. They're starting a bit smaller at 15.08 million USD in 2025, but that growth rate is really something.
And let's not forget about the rest of the gang: Australia, Singapore, Taiwan, and the whole of Southeast Asia. They're all experiencing growth in the 7% to 9% range.
So yeah, APAC is definitely the region to watch. It's like they're hitting the accelerator on the optical lens edger market.
Now, while we're talking about regions, let's not forget about South America.
Right, it's a smaller market for sure, but it's still got a decent growth rate. They're holding over 5% of the global market share, with a 2025 market size of 23.88 million USD.
And the projected CAGR is a respectable 6.5%, reaching 39.5 million USD by 2033.
Brazil is the big kahuna in South America, coming in at 10.22 million USD, with a CCR of 7.1%.
Argentina is another key player at 4.01 million, with an even higher CGR of 7.4%.
And we've got Colombia, Peru, and Chile all contributing to that growth with solid KGRs in the 6% range.
Now let's swing over to the Middle East. They're holding around 2% of the global market share, with a 2025 size of 25.13 million USD.
And their CGR is a healthy 7.1%, projected to reach 43.4 million USD by 2033.
Saudi Arabia is the dominant force in the Middle East, with a 2025 market size of 8.85 million and a CGR of 7.4%.
The UAE is also a significant player at 5.18 million, growing at 7.6%.
And then we've got Turkey, Qatar, and Egypt, all showing respectable growth in the 6% to 7% range.
Finally, we come to Africa. It's the smallest market we've looked at so far, with only about 1% of the global market share.
In 2025, their market size is estimated at 13.82 million USD.
But they're still projected to grow at a decent pace, a CAGR of 6.1%, reaching 22.2 million USD by 2033.
South Africa is the key player in Africa, coming in at 4.87 million USD with a CGR of 7%.
And Nigeria is another one to watch at 1.11 million with a 6.3% CJGR.
All right, so we've really covered a lot of ground here, geographically speaking. We've seen where the big players are, where the growth is happening fastest, and how different regions are contributing to this global market.
Exactly. Now let's shift gears a bit and look at the different types of optical lens edgers that are out there. Because, not all machines are created equal.
The report breaks it down into three main categories: automatic, manual, and semi-automatic. And each one has its own unique place in the market.
So, first up, the automatic edgers. These are the high-tech, sophisticated machines that are really leading the charge in the market.
They offer precision, efficiency, and they can handle complex lens designs with ease. It's like having a robot optician.
And the report predicts that they're going to remain the dominant force in the market. It just makes sense. Optical labs, big retail chains, hospitals, they're all looking for ways to streamline their operations and boost their accuracy.
And with the increasing demand for customized digital lenses, automatic edgers are becoming even more essential. They can seamlessly integrate with digital prescriptions, making the whole process super efficient.
But here's where things get interesting. The report highlights that the fastest growing segment in the market is actually manual optical lens edgers.
Yeah, that might seem counterintuitive at first glance, right? With all the talk about automation, why are manual edgers suddenly taking off?
Well, it turns out that there's still a huge demand for these machines, especially among independent opticians, smaller optical shops, and in emerging markets.
They offer a lot of flexibility, they're more affordable upfront, and they're pretty easy to use. You don't need a ton of training to operate a manual edger.
And in some parts of the world where access to high-tech equipment might be limited, these manual edgers are a real workhorse.
Plus, there's something to be said for that hands-on approach. Some opticians really appreciate the control they get with a manual edger.
Now, we should also touch on semi-automatic edgers. The report doesn't give us specific numbers on their market share or growth rate, but it's safe to say they're somewhere in between.
Yeah, they offer a bit of automation without the complexity or cost of the fully automatic systems.
It's like a stepping stone for businesses that are maybe looking to dip their toes into automation without diving in head first.
Okay, so we've talked about where in the world these machines are being used and the different types of edgers that are out there. Now let's dive into how they're actually being used.
And it probably won't surprise you to hear that one application really dominates the market.
Eyeglass lenses.
It makes sense. Pretty much everyone needs vision correction at some point in their lives.
And with the growing global population and increasing awareness about eye health, the demand for eyeglasses is only going up.
Plus, you've got the rising popularity of all these fancy lens options, progressive lenses, blue light blocking, high-index lenses. People are really investing in their vision.
And all of that translates into a need for more and better lens edgers.
Now, another interesting application that's seeing some serious growth is microscope lenses. This is a much more specialized area, but it's definitely one to watch.
The advancements in industries like healthcare, biotechnology, and materials science are driving a surge in demand for high-precision microscopes. And of course, those microscopes need lenses, and those lenses need to be edged perfectly.
And as these technologies keep advancing, we're going to see even more demand for these specialized edgers.
The report also mentions camera lenses and a few other applications, but it doesn't go into too much detail. It's safe to say that while they're part of the market, they're not the main drivers of growth compared to eyeglasses and microscopes.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about market size, geographical trends, different types of edgers, and their applications.
Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. What are the forces that are shaping this market? What's making it tick?
The report identifies a few key market drivers, and one of the biggest is the growing consumer interest in customized eyewear.
People are becoming more and more discerning about their eyeglasses. They want lenses that are tailored to their specific needs and lifestyle, and they're willing to pay for it.
This trend is pushing manufacturers to develop even more sophisticated edgers that can handle complex designs and deliver that level of personalization.
Another major driver is the increasing automation and adoption of contactless systems across industries.
And the optical industry is no exception. Automation not only improves efficiency, but also reduces the risk of human error, leading to more precise and consistent results.
And it speeds up the whole process, which is always a good thing for businesses.
Another key driver is the simple fact that more and more optical laboratories are being established around the world.
As the demand for eyeglasses and other optical devices continues to grow, we need more facilities to produce them. And every new lab needs lens edging equipment.
So those are some of the key factors that are pushing the market forward. But, there are always challenges.
Right. The report also highlights some of the restraints that are holding the market back. And one of the biggest is the slow adoption of advanced edgers in smaller optical shops.
These mom-and-pop shops often don't have the budget to invest in high-end equipment, or their volume might not justify the expense.
And some of them just prefer the familiarity and control of manual or semi-automatic edgers.
Another restraint is the increasing competition from lower-cost substitutes. These often come from local manufacturers, especially in regions like APAC.
As these local players gain traction and offer more affordable options, it puts pressure on the big international brands to stay competitive.
Now, looking ahead, the report also identifies some key trends that are shaping the future of the market.
One of the most significant trends is the growing popularity of digital lenses.
Digital lenses offer a whole bunch of advantages over traditional lenses. They're lighter, thinner, more durable, and they can be customized to a much greater degree.
And this is creating a huge demand for edgers that can handle the complexity of these lenses and deliver the precision that's needed.
Another trend is the move towards more efficient and versatile edgers.
Think multi-purpose machines that can perform several tasks in one go, cutting, beveling, polishing, all in the same unit.
These machines help streamline the workflow for optical labs and reduce the need for multiple pieces of equipment.
Okay, so we've talked about the drivers, the restraints, and the trends. Now, let's wrap up by talking about who the big players are in this market.
The optical lens edger market is pretty competitive. You've got a mix of established international brands and up-and-coming local manufacturers.
Some of the leading companies mentioned in the report are Essilor International, Topcon Corporation, IDEC, Innova Medical Ophthalmics, Coburn Technologies, Hivitz, May, Sentinelli International, and Shanghai Support Instruments.
These companies are constantly innovating, trying to stay ahead of the curve by incorporating the latest technologies into their products.
And they're also diversifying their offerings, developing new types of edgers that cater to different market segments and budgets.
It's a dynamic industry, and we can expect to see even more innovation in the years to come.
The report even gives us a glimpse of this, mentioning some recent developments like Alcon launching a new line of intraocular lenses in the US, and Topcon completing a new optical components plant.
Those are just two examples of the investments and advancements that are constantly pushing the industry forward.
All right, so let's bring it all together.
We've taken a deep dive into the global optical lens edger market, and we've seen that it's a sector that's both essential and rapidly evolving.
It's being driven by factors like increasing demand for vision correction, advancements in lens technology, and the growing trend towards automation.
North America and Europe currently hold the largest market shares, but the Asia-Pacific region is catching up quickly.
And while automatic edgers are leading the way, manual edgers are also showing significant growth.
It's a fascinating market to watch, with lots of potential for further growth and innovation.
Now, for you, our listeners, we hope this deep dive has given you a better understanding of this often overlooked but crucial industry. You've learned about global trends, regional differences, and the forces that are shaping the market for these machines that literally help us see the world.
And this leads us to a final thought-provoking question.
Given the explosive growth projected for the Asia-Pacific region and the contrasting growth rates of manual and automatic edgers, how do you think the competitive landscape will evolve in the next decade? How will advancements in technology and shifts in global economics reshape this market? Something to ponder.
We always love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.
See you on the next dive.